You're listening to Highest Level with Michael Bailey and Anthony Dawson, a podcast dedicated to unlocking peak performance, powerful mindset shifts, and the real conversations behind success. Get ready to think bigger, grow faster, and aim higher. This is Highest Level.
Hey everyone, welcome to Highest Level Podcast. This is episode 5. I'm Michael Bailey. I'm an estate agent in the Preston area, Fylde Coast, and all that good stuff. And my co-host,
Anthony Dawson, real estate agent covering the Pendle and Burnley areas predominantly.
And today we've got with us Jim Weir, who is both a friend of mine and someone that I work with to help me book holidays and such things such as that. So Jim, give us a little introduction about yourself.
Yep. So like Michael said, I've got my own independent travel business, which I'm thoroughly enjoying. I've had this going about 16 months. And then prior to that, I was a professional footballer, played across England's top leagues, played across Europe. But unfortunately I had to retire a bit early due to injuries. But yeah, I've had a good career and now enjoying what I do now, which is, helping people book better holidays.
So you mentioned, Jim, there straight away about the injuries and things like that. So what we're going to try and talk about today really is resilience. So how has that, do you think, shaped what you're doing now in terms of having to sort of switch careers and change gears from something that really was, I guess, sort of forced upon you through no control of your own?
Yeah, there's a lot of transferable skills, 100%, which before I retired from football, I wasn't, sure of. But, you can name a handful quite easily. Obviously, hard work, like you say, resilience. It's quite a lonely place being injured. So you're in the gym a lot on your own. You're not with the team. You're used to working in a team environment. You see people who come and maybe have like a small hamstring injury and they go back to the pitch before you do. So it's like quite deflating. So that's a lot. You're obviously working with the physios, being absolutely pushed to the limits, because there's no game to sort of relax for. You proper pushing your body to try and get back fit. So yeah, it is hard. And then obviously you're not doing the thing that you were born to do. You've been training your whole life to do, which is, play and win football matches. You're doing other things which just aren't the same, and it's not the same sort of competition and what you thrive on, what you wake up for. So yeah, the resilience is massive, like getting up every day. And just for me, it was always just achieving little markers, just get to a certain point, maybe weight bearing, maybe a certain level in the gym, back to the pitch. Back to the pitch was a big one. But yeah, it's a lot more probably underestimated how resilient you have to be, certainly to come back from the long-term injuries, I think, in football.
That was an interesting point there about you talk about the incremental gains, so those marginal gains, and we've touched on that historically, haven't we, Michael, about, if you focus on the little gains and consistency with them, you will eventually get there. But that was fascinating as well about you saying, I never really thought about it like that, but when you're injured, you're alone. So, and that reminded me of a phrase that I heard a while back, and that is, nobody's coming, self-rescue. And you were in a situation there where it was a case of, do you want to get back up and running back into the where you want to be, because it's up to you and only you, because you've got that by yourself. So I bet being a lonely journey, I should imagine quite a tough one as well, keeping yourself mentally in that place to just keep pushing forward, just keep millimeter by millimeter get in there.
Yeah, I completely, like you said it there, mentally, you've got to have something to sort of strive towards, a target. So like you say, every couple of weeks there might be a new target, and you obviously work with the physios on that. But yeah, it was lonely, like you mentioned. Like, it's a team game at the end of the day. The camaraderie, the banter, the morale to go and succeed together. There's none of that. You're on your own, and you just got to be, you just got to go after it. Otherwise, you'll won't get back fit, and your career won't be as successful as it could have been.
I guess there's a lot of parallels in business as well. So I ran my own business in 2009-10 outside any sort of network. and blooming heck was that difficult. Whereas I'd be interested to know, because you're the kind of way that you work is probably very similar to how I and Anthony work. So you're involved with a larger organization. How does that benefit your business, and how does that really help with your resilience? Because as we've kind of said before, perhaps sort of marginal gains or big goals on your own can be a bit of a lonely place. Talk to us a bit more about that.
Yeah, it's how I see it is like football's a roller coaster, highs and lows. So the lows might be when you're injured or you're losing a lot, and then the highs are, winning. And it's similar to what I do now. Like the lows are when you're quiet, not much business, you need to rely on that network. And the highs are when, you're really busy, you're doing successfully, you're making new bookings, making new clients. So yeah, it is very sort of similar. And the resilience now for me, if I am quiet, it's just turning up at your desk every day. Keep doing the things that will eventually be successful. So it's just kind of repetition and have that discipline sort of to follow a routine, follow a structure. Similar to football, similar to, coming back from injury rehabilitation, you got to follow a certain plan, a structure. And it's the same in what I do now. Not every day is going to be, birds and roses and stuff like that. So you just got to go through the quiet times, the hard times, and just keep pushing that agenda, being proactive. I think it's a great word. So yeah, it is difficult, but like I say, relying on network community is massive.
And then obviously with your football career, you played across the top leagues. Obviously you played for one of the most elite clubs in the country, Manchester United. So what did that teach you about sort of, because obviously the pod's called highest level, what did that teach you about succeeding at the highest level? And then also, I guess, how did that shape your resilience in what you do today and your day-to-day life?
Yeah, I think you see a lot of players go to Man United and, you think they might do well and then for some reason they don't. And I think it's just the pressure of a big club. I only touched the surface, so came up through the youth, but I knew what the club was about. But there's just a level of expectation. And the best way I can describe it is if you give the ball away in the stadium and this isn't really myself, maybe I've seen it happen to other people, and the fans groan, and that player can either rise to the occasion and go after it, or they can go under. And I think that's that can be a lonely place out on the football pitch when you haven't got confidence and the fans are after you, your players are after you, your manager, and that's where you got to be very resilient. And that is a lonely place. You're surrounded by 75,000 people, 22 players on the pitch, but that's difficult. And I know that more from other clubs, from myself, but just I've seen it happen to people at Man United. But yeah, that resilience, it just continues. I think you just got to stand up, be a man and just go about your business. And as long as you do, work hard, do the things that you've trained to do all your life, then, hopefully you'll be successful with it. But you need luck.
If you're well trained, then I suppose it's kind of not autopilot, but it's just that consistency. So you keep turning up, you keep doing what you're doing, and then again that goes back to the getting to that level and getting to just climbing those ranks and just, that's an interesting point there.
Yeah, I think don't underestimate confidence in any walk of life. Certainly in sport, I think confidence is, because like you say, we're all built the same. I think Sir Alex Ferguson used to say, it's like everyone has got talent who's here because you wouldn't be here otherwise. And it's almost like what's between your ears, which can make or break the best players. Because it's just that mentality. And you look at someone like Ronaldo, okay, he might come across a bit arrogant, but he has that inner self-belief, that confidence to just not care about what the crowd are doing, what his other teammates think. He just goes and does it. And, it's just that utter self-belief, something that I probably didn't have enough of. I was probably too nice, if you will. You need that sort of little bit of arrogance, which, I kind of got later in my career, that more self-belief, but it just came from experience, I guess. But, it is, like you say, you're programmed to be there. You've trained all your life and, you should be there. It's just kind of showing it.
You could nearly say it's finding that perfect, the Goldilocks zone between confident enough yet humble enough. So humble enough to be, I know I need to improve, but I'm really confident that I do have the base and advanced skill to be here, to perform, and go after that win, because I'm worthy of it. But also, I don't know everything. I'm not 100%. Yeah. Nobody is. Interesting point, that, finding that, and I suspect the perfect point there will change depending on where you're at and what's going on and what the challenge is, sporting, business, personal, or otherwise. Because there's a time to be, well, to use the Ronaldo example, all in confident, 100%. I've got this, and I suspect probably, maybe that's the World Cup final. I don't know, but or to use my analogy, rather could think at it, or all in. I've got this. I can, and chase.
Yeah, I think no, I completely agree. I think it comes with experience and like know-how. So it's like if you're 30 and you've done it for 10 years, you've got 300 games behind you, you know quite a lot. Where if you're 21, you need to be a sponge, you need to learn, you need to absorb knowledge and, like say, be humble. I think for me now, I'm at the lower end in my new business. I'm learning a lot about different destinations, trying to absorb information. But then if I do know something about, let's say, a destination, a certain holiday, then I can back myself and be like, no, I can confidently assure people that I'm going to give you an absolutely unbelievable service. And it's the same in football. I got to the point where I was like 28, I was playing in a foreign league and I knew I was the best player. So it does give you that. You just know it in training. Like you've kind of earned the right in training to perform how you do on a match day. It's a mindset thing, massively.
So with the new venture, so am I right? I think it's tailored holiday packages with more of a leaning towards really customizing and taking it to delivering a high level service to whatever the budget commands. But in an ideal world, the budget is geared towards more of a high tier. Is that the right phrase?
Premium leisure. It's. I like to think of it bucket list holidays. You basically raise the game of someone's holiday. I used to think I was pretty good, and then now I get constant information, constant education, emails galore, and you just don't know what's out there until you're kind of in the industry. So you're just constantly getting battered with emails about products and destinations, and it's great. But yeah, it's feeding that onto your clients, and obviously just, as I said, just making their life easier. It's sort of like you say, concierge. But yeah, you just improve. But yeah, like you say, premium leisure. High stakes, really.
Because some of these destinations will kind of not quite maybe sell themselves, but there's an expectation. I'm going to go to the Maldives, I'm going to go to the Galapagos. This is what I'm expecting. So how do you mirror the prestige of some of these locations with the service that you offer? Because I think Michael and myself, we pride ourselves on trying to deliver the very highest level service that we can to match up with the highest level results. Because effort's good, but results are better. How do you facilitate matching up your service to the destination?
Yeah, so we've got in our basically all the top hotels in the world we'll have a direct contract with. So that's where I am, like sort of a franchise of a bigger thing. So they give me the tools to go off and have my own successful business. So only really the top sort of hotels are in that list, and they're all being reviewed by past customers, other travel counsellors. There's 2,000 of us worldwide. So we have destination experts, which I can rely on. They can rely on mine. I like to think I'm quite good with America, Greece, South Africa, certain destinations, which is obviously ever developing, but you can't know the world. So like Galapagos, I'll just reach out to maybe a Galapagos expert, learn about the do's and don'ts, what to go about it. And usually Galapagos is cruise or something. Maldives, there's certain destinations. There's loads of absolutely amazing ones, but it depends on the time of year. You've got the North and South Atoll. There's a lot more to it than just picking the right hotel.
I'm probably giving a bit of a clue into my one of my hobbies, which is scuba diving. Hence why.
Yeah. No, I've done it. I'd love to do it a bit more, but again, we'll have like experts in that, and it's we build it. Let's say me, yourself, we'll build a relationship. I'll lean on their expertise, come back and be like, Anthony, I've got this, and this for you. And it just goes from there, really.
Some real synergies with that setup to our setup, isn't there, Michael? You've decided, right, I'm going after these premier holidays, so I need to make sure I twin up with a premier network, and then within that network, the premier people on those that can help advise in those niche areas. Because I think we all probably agree on the fact that you're not expected to know everything, but you're expected to be able to know where to go to find out everything.
Yeah.
And I think and again, that goes with the confidence in the network, but the humbleness to say, "Oh, great question. That's I've not come across that one before. Give me an hour, I'll give you an answer," type thing.
I was in Crete the other week on a hotel visit, and someone told me, like, one of the best selling people she knows just says, "I have absolutely no idea about that, but I'll find out for you." And I think, like you say, that's it. We just say you can't know the world. Like, it's too vast, it's too much. You can have obviously your expert areas, but with travel counsellors, we call them DMCs, destination management companies. So people in resort who know more about the local area, etc., etc. And as I said, experts that you can lean on, and that's all part of, the great umbrella that is that I'm under.
Yeah, I think as you said, Anthony, there's loads of synergies with what we do as well as Jim. And the one thing I found, like we would find, is sometimes the way you really find out how good people are is in the slightly tougher moment. So I know Jim sorted a few things out for me when I've actually been away, and for whatever reason, hotel have made a mistake, and he jumped in and dealt with that as well. So it's that kind of concierge service as well, which I think sets what you're doing apart, really.
Yeah, I think that's big, because I always say you can't, like, you book a transfer, you can't always vouch for. We book the best companies, but you can't always vouch for, Joe Bloggs in Greece turning up on time, or he's on his fag break. You just can't always do it. So, like, I had it the other day, and that's where it's hard sometimes, which I do find hard. Like, your stress levels just go from here to here on one text, and then you kind of just, like you say, concierge solve it immediately, because you don't want to reflect badly on you, especially me as a new business. I want that return customer, but sometimes it is out of your control. But that's why, like Anthony said, it's a key that we only really partner ourselves with the best. But yeah, even the best can let you down sometimes. But yeah, like you said, Michael, it's just solving the problem, which I think that was a massive thing in football during my reserve time. It was nothing's a problem, because as reserves you get, allowed to swear on this podcast? Or
yeah,
you get shit. You get shit on. You get absolutely shit on. So first team run at 3, we turn up at 10. Oh, we got to wait around till 3:00 in case the first team need any numbers, or whatever, and you just get absolutely rolled over. So our Resi coach used to always say nothing's a problem, and then just take that with you the rest of your career. And as you get to the first team, you get a lot more sort of looked after. So generally, you feel like you're on cloud 9.
It's really interesting that you've just given me a fantastic aha moment, to use a Kellerism there. It's don't use the metric of my success to assess me. Assess me off how I fix it when it goes wrong. That's really quite interesting, because you can inadvertently, a broken clock's right twice a day, right? You can inadvertently get some successes, but converting a total hornet's nest into something wonderful. That's a real, metric success, I would say.
Yeah, they speak about it a lot in travel, like in what we do. So, like Michael says, that was a little thing, but let's say the ash cloud over Iceland, or COVID. That's where we almost came into our element. Obviously, pre my joining and starting, but there was so much going on, and that's where you can rely on your sort of myself to sort everything and make sure like you're in the best possible hands. And obviously you're very covered with travel counsellors. We've got like the best financial protection, all that malarkey. But obviously it is important when things go wrong, and like I said, we'll be there to jump in. No.
Would you say that's something that affects the sector? And I know, I mean, myself and Michael, we can reflect on certain stereotypes within our sector, and the reason stereotypes come about is because they are quite commonplace. But would you say that you are called into action and mobilised to fix things more so in your sector, or I don't know? Is there?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's hard because, like, not to like throw shade on other companies, but you've got the likes of like the package providers like E2, your Jet2 aren't bad, but EasyJets. Then you got Hayes Travel who won't go into that level of detail. They're just about, oh, just ring the airline, or they won't be able to provide the same level of service. You're on hold for a bit, whereas obviously with ourselves, it's just bosh straight on the phone and we're fixing it as fast as we can. But things do go wrong in travel. It is what it is. But like you said, when you say about a bit more of a premium product, I don't know the quote exactly, but it's something like, I can't beat Google because Google can't beat me. So when there is an issue or when there might be a problem or you want a little extra, Google and, booking.com, whatever, might not be able to fix it. But obviously we will step in and sort it for you.
I think there's two things to unpackage there that I think you were humble in glossing over. But I think, in terms of problem prevention, you touched on you might be you are more detailed than some of the other providers, and I think that the devil is in the detail. That last 10%. If you go that extra bit, you can prevent the problems before they manifest. And then having that ability to problem solve after the fact. So you're kind of hitting it at both sides. Let's try and not have the problem in the first place, but then let's be on it like a tramp on chips to fix it ASAP.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's again like I love that word proactive. It's always been a thing of mine in football. Like, be proactive, try and beat your injury rehab goal, try and beat it by 2. I think Wayne Rooney spoke about that. You just try and beat it. Carragher maybe like 8 months, get back in 7. It's the same with travel. Just if you're proactive around things, you might, like you say, find little hiccups before they begin. But world disasters and stuff like that, you just got to react and, like you say, do as best you can.
I think if success was a person and it had a middle name, it would be proactive.
Yeah.
What, Jim? Tell us about what you think might have been your one of or your toughest moment in football, and what that taught you about both resilience and performing then at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's a few really, but certainly I don't like to dwell on the injuries, but certainly the injury at Hull City was hard. I'd moved at 21, was flying, doing really well in training at Hull, and then, my knee absolutely blew out, and it was just, I was out for about 18 months. And what was hard about that is I came back after 5 months, 2 days away from training, bam, knee went again. 6 months later, I did a little injection just to help it out, and that injection got infected, which is about 10,000 to 1 chance. So that was like real nail in the coffin. I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't believe it, and was starting to think, will I ever get back from this? So that moment, that sort of 18-month period where I was on a good contract at Hull, doing well financially, but I was probably the most, I wouldn't say I was depressed, but it was the worst time in my career by a long stretch. And then, I don't know, another hard time. Again, like I mentioned before, that like growing in from the crowd, that probably, definitely a Bolton. Definitely a Bolton. I had a manager who I didn't agree with, because at the end of the day, it's a game of opinions, and I'm a pretty reasonable guy, but he's known in the football world just a bit. He either likes you or he doesn't, and he just certainly for some reason didn't take to me. And, I was getting training with the Resis, getting dragged off twice before half time, which is in football is a real, punch in the face, absolutely disrespectful. And especially when I think I'd made an assist in one of the games and it was 1-1. So that was hard. Like, I remember my sister came to watch one of the games and was like crying. She was like, it's basically I can't remember what she said, the phrase, but bullying publicly, it was something like that. And it did feel like that. But yeah, that was by far, I'm actually thinking back now, that was by far the hardest.
So when you had such a monumental knock like that, sometimes I'll use the analogy for myself. I've got a big problem here. Right, I've got two choices. I can either sit in the corner crying to my beer or be proactive and get on with it and work through it. But sometimes, depending on the severity of the knock, it's harder to take the right path on certain occasions than others. So when you were really, we'll say pit of despair, was there anything that you could reflect on and say, well, I did the following and it really helped me, and then that people might find that useful to emulate?
Yeah, so just on the Bolton one, like obviously, as I said, getting absolutely disrespected left, right, centre, treated quite poorly. I always turned up and trained 100%. I was never fobbing it off, never going injured, never just like, oh, I'm not coming in today, I'm ill or whatever. Absolutely, like always foot to the floor, trying my best, trying 100%. Because like I wouldn't be able to look myself in the mirror if I didn't do that. So I always I'm quite proud of how I held myself in that situation, even when I left the club, which was only after about a 5-month spell. Even the manager who, we'd had not great sort of interactions, even he said, you are a good lad and, you do train well. So it almost made him like accept the fact that it's just, I don't know, it's just one of them, yeah. But yeah, I always held up my end of the bargain in terms of, hard work and dedication.
So just to pick something up that you said there, because obviously in the public eye, fans often make assumptions about players that are injured and being on decent contracts and all that kind of stuff. And how does that feel to be on the other side of that? I would assume, based on what you've said, there is some. I'm sure not for everyone, but it depends on your personality type. There is some kind of not guilt associated with that, but something like that. How does it feel on the other side of that?
Yeah, I think fans don't realise, like, footballers, like, don't, when they're like, oh, he's not trying his hardest, like, you would not get to where they are in football if they didn't do that. Like, you've had to be the best at every single aspect, like throughout your whole childhood, growing up in the academy. Like, you've had to compete. You can't just flick a switch and go off. It just doesn't work like that. So when I hear people say that, I'm just like, that's just ridiculous. Sometimes, as I said, sometimes it is just confidence that might make a player look like he's not playing that well. Because if you're winning and you're on the top of the game, you get 10% more energy boost. I used to get it if I went to right back. I used to hate playing right back. My energy levels just went down just naturally because I didn't want to play there. I didn't enjoy it. But you're only human. You still try your best, but it's just a natural thing. It's like someone saying to you, maybe you start work at, 3 a.m. in the morning. You're probably not going to be as sharp as you are at, 9 a.m. That's maybe a bad analogy, but no one in football would want to be injured. It's just one of them. No one would want to not win or not try to win. So I think when fans do that, they, like you say, they're just quite emotional and don't understand maybe what it's like in the mind of a sort of player in that time.
Yeah, they were talking yesterday on the radio about a particular player and saying, from his body language, it was clear he doesn't want to be there and this, that, and that. I was a little bit baffled by that because I'm not sure how you can actually see that. There's as you say, there's more than one thing associated with it, and it's very easy to go down the road of these guys get paid big money, but everyone's got problems, right? You can have all the money in the world, but you can have issues, or as you said, you've been injured for a long time, and that affects your movement, and you're very low. And I just thought it was a bit of a weird thing for them to be saying.
Yeah, like you say, but like there's football's obviously it is everything, but you've got things going on at home. Like, might have had an argument with the wife, or someone might be ill in the family, whatever it is. But that's where I go back to confidence. Like, I think obviously Marcus Rashford's been talked about a hell of a lot. And it's like, oh, he's not trying his hardest, or his attitude, like you say, his body language. But some people just have natural mannerisms where, like, I used to look quite lazy, but if you looked at the stats, I was always like the top runner. But it's just like I was quite laid back. There's just general mannerisms. So I think like sometimes like pretending to work hard is a different thing, if you know what I mean. I think there's players out there now who maybe do that and they look like they're doing a lot, but then I guarantee if you look to the stats, maybe they're not as much. But again, confidence, like I think for Marcus, like confidence gives you that extra 10-15%, and it might look like he's being lazy, but I just generally don't think that's a thing anymore in football. Obviously you got the likes who've kind of earned it, like Ronaldo and Messi, but they're almost not being lazy, it's conserving their energy to, you know, be productive at the other end.
And there's parallels there with business, isn't there? Stats don't lie ultimately. Numbers don't lie.
Yeah.
I also like that when you say, you know, I suppose we've all got battles going on, home life, you know, things in the background. And I think compartmentalization is a very effective tool. So to relate it to sport, when the starter whistle goes, 100% focus you can't really have any bleed through from other things. And that's difficult. And that goes back to sorry, just something came through then. Apologies.
No, I completely agree. Just thinking about it when you were saying that, it's like kind of when you cross the white line, though, I think I've heard players say it's, let's say, you know, parents died or something, you know, absolutely. But then when you're playing football, you're focusing on winning. So you're not actually thinking about the other thing usually. And that's how I dealt with it. I mean, I luckily never had anything too bad. But as soon as you cross the white line, it almost takes your mind off it. You're just a natural kid playing in a playing ground sort of thing. It's the other side almost when things aren't going well with football. And like the crowd's on you, the manager's on you, then that's the difficult bit for me.
I think
in a sporting sense.
Would it be failing to say as well? Because I was here, I heard a podcast with Les Ferdinand the other week, and he said when he really started to think on the pitch is when he really used to like go through spells of not scoring. It's that kind of that natural muscle memory. You've been playing since you're 8 years old, you know, whatever the age is. So yeah, he said thinking sometimes could damage the performance really.
Yeah, I think definitely for a striker as well. He's got to be instinctive and stuff like that. So I definitely think, obviously, as a midfielder, I kind of had to think a little bit, but I get what he means. It's just being natural, and as soon as you start overthinking your game, yeah, you're losing that self-belief. Then you're losing that confidence.
I think that's the same with business, Anthony, as well, isn't it? From my perspective.
Yeah, again, it goes back to that balancing act. You've got to be confident enough to go into the pitch and say, you know, I can help this person. I can get them the result that they want. I've got confidence in my ability because I've got the track record, but also the humbleness of I'm open to the discussion. I'm open to trying to work through and understand maybe their individual perspective, problems, background. Very much so.
And Jim, then how did your sporting background help you navigate into the world of sort of business and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think there's got to be an element of like sort of get up and go about you. Like you can't just, you know, you're on a Sunday night and I'm maybe with my mates. I'm like, no, I need to go back because I need to be fresh Monday morning. Sort of, you know, you need to be proactive. You need to go after it. You can't just like dwindle around on emails and stuff like that. So there's an element of discipline and obviously sort of hard work about it, whereas maybe like an employed job you can just like float into the wind a bit, whereas you're not doing that in sort of football, you're not doing that in entrepreneurship. You've got to be kind of competitive, obviously compete around the people around you, other sort of, for me, travel business owners, for yourselves, obviously other estate agents, you've got to want to win, essentially. So I think they're all elements that you can take, you know, anywhere in business, anywhere in life, really. The hardest thing I found was just kind of like, obviously in football, you compete every day with like your teammates to get into the team, to then compete on a Saturday, to then win and to compete in the league. And like there's like a real purpose to why you got up. And that's what I struggled with when I said to my wife, I was like, why do people get up in the morning? Like, what's the point? You know, sort of thing. I struggled with that. I know that sounds a bit like, oh, like no one else matters, but I do get it now. And I've found that through travel, through my business now, like pushing myself to compete with people around me, obviously, you know, do well, succeed, win bookings, and you've got to find your own level of purpose, which took me a few months, in honesty.
You'll get the results you work for. I think that's kind of like the takeaway from what you're saying there. You know,
yeah.
If you want to pull 14-hour, 16-hour days where you literally sleep, eat, work, you will get the result that matches up with that, as long as it is proper work and not, as you say, just floating along in part-time effort will always give part-time results. And if that's all you want in that particular area, that absolutely fine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But yeah, again, throw the kitchen sink at it. You invariably, you should get the results that match up with that.
It's like we talk about E to P, isn't it? That if you're not, what you're doing isn't purposeful, you can work all the hours that you want. You're not really going to get where you want to be. But I think it's interesting because all of the people that I talk to and I meet that are kind of succeeding and are towards the top end of their game, so to speak, are competitive. Not only sometimes just with themselves, actually. But there's a lot of that transcends a lot of different businesses and people, definitely.
Yeah, no, and it's like I was speaking like a bit different, but like about how someone's told me about someone that like the PE school day is now like, oh, it's not competing, it's just participating only, and I'm like, you're ruining that. I know that's a different conversation for a different time probably, but competition's a massive thing. It teaches you how to win, how to lose, and at the end of the day, most people, certainly like you said, successful business owners want to win, and the best football players do. Like I always remember when Zlatan came to United, he really put that element of win everything, even if it's like a ping pong game in the gym or whatever it was. It was I'm winning. There's no other. Obviously, you can lose. It's okay to lose, but as long as you tried your best, then it is what it is.
It really is an important conversation, though. I mean, if it was down to me, getting a medal for turning up should be banned.
Yeah,
absolutely undermines everything, because if there's no accolade for winning, well, what's the point? If I'm going to get the reward for not putting the time, the effort in, well, and I think that is something that is affecting society, every single aspect. So yeah, probably a conversation for a different day, but an important conversation nonetheless.
Yeah, I think you're both right, definitely, but I also think there's I don't know, it's a very difficult balance to strike between inclusion of people and exclusion of people, but there has to be, as you say, an absolute element of you've got to learn to win, learn to lose. And for all of us, I think if I look back on my career, are the lessons in the wins? Not really. They're in the losses. They're always in the losses.
100%.
And then, so Jim, looking back, what's one truth that you've learned in your earlier career, or even recently, about success or resilience that only having your kind of backstory could have taught you?
Yeah, I think we've kind of touched on it a bit, but just sort of show up, like football first there, or pushing yourself in the gym. Don't cut corners, sort of. You can't cut corners in football. You can't cut corners in life. So for me now, it's doing the product training, doing everything that I need to, networking, speaking to clients, blah, blah, blah. In football, showing up, pushing yourself, wanting to be better, learning. But yeah, just kind of not just like taking the easy path and just pushing boundaries, I guess, is always going to get you into good places. And you do need a bit of luck. I think certainly what in football you did, what I do now, sometimes you do, sometimes it's just not the right timing for people. And, you might miss like a big client or like a big business aspect, but that's also life. You like say you learn from them things, but yeah, just like pushing boundaries is a key one. And just like I said, showing up, being disciplined with your plan.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for your time, Jim. I think that's been an amazing episode, and hopefully teaching a lot of people different things about resilience and a lot of other things, actually. And I think we've probably uncovered quite a few truths about perhaps elite sport in the UK that aren't really known that well, and it'll hopefully correct a few of the stereotypes maybe that are out there that aren't necessarily the truth of what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah, hopefully.
So yeah, thanks both of you for your time.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks,
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks for listening to Highest Level with Michael Bailey and Anthony Dawson. If this episode inspired you, like, review, and share the podcast. Your support helps others level up too. Until next time, keep growing towards your highest level.